I'm going to tell you why I think John Pius is the breakout player for the Wisconsin Badgers this year.
You are Locked On Badgers, your daily podcast on the Wisconsin Badgers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is good, Badger fans? Welcome to Locked On Badgers, your team every single day. Thank you for tuning in. I'm your host, Ryan Harings. I appreciate you for joining us. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Fun show today. We're going to talk about who I think are the most important transfer players in the 2024 transfer class to the team this year. Important that we kind of draw that line, right? Not necessarily the best players, not necessarily a ranking of the biggest transfer portal wins, not necessarily a ranking of the film that I like the most. I'm going 1 down to 12 of the players that I think are most important to the roster this year. And in that group, we're going to talk about who I think is going to be the breakout player for the Wisconsin Badgers this season. Let's go. Let's start at number 1. And again, this is a ranking of who I think is most important to the Badgers football team this year from the transfer portal additions in the 24 class. Number 1 is Tyler Van Dyke, right? It's the quarterback. It's the person who touches the ball in every single offensive play. I don't even think we need to belabor this point. Tyler Van Dyke is the most, just like Tanner Mordecai was last year, right? If you look back at the 23 transfer portal class, Tanner Mordecai was the most important piece in that class. And part of the reason the offense stuttered, it wasn't just him. It was Jake Renfro being hurt. It was some inconsistencies at receiver. It was some inconsistencies at tackle. But a big part of it was Tanner Mordecai didn't live up to the billing. That's just the truth of it. Great leader, check. Tough as friggin' nails, check. He fell a little short of expectations, and because of that, the offense suffered. Tyler Van Dyke is absolutely the key to this engine, most important transfer portal addition that we got this offseason. And again, if you're looking at him, you're looking at touchdown to interception ratio. That's my biggest key with him. His great year, he was about 4-1. His last 2 years, he was about 2-1. Can he get to like 3-1, right? Can he throw 3 touchdowns for every interception he throws? That means he's kind of splitting the difference between his great season in 2021 and his last 2 kind of inconsistent seasons. If he can do that, that means the decision-making is better. That means he's taking care of the ball. That means he's seeing the field. That means he's more comfortable in the offense. And that also means that howitzer connected to his right shoulder can be used and fully utilized in Longo's offense. So Tyler Van Dyke, number 1, it's obvious he's the quarterback. Now let's get into the fun ones, right? Because that's the obvious one. Let's get into the fun ones. Who is the number 2 most important addition in the portal this season? For me, it's Brandon Lane. Like, again, this is not a ranking of the players who I think have the most upside, not a ranking of the players who I think have the most NFL potential. Most important to this roster, give me the 6'3", 300-pound defensive lineman with 2 years of eligibility left. Give me the guy that committed to Michigan State, committed to Louisville, had other really good Power 4 offers. Give me the guy who I've been told is really strong and physical, can hold the point of attack. Transfer coming over from Stephen F. Austin. Again, not a high level of competition, but something I'm going to talk about a lot kind of in this show is a phrase I'm going to call traits translate. Okay. 6'3", 300 pounds with some strength and some burst translates. It just does. He's a physical guy that you can hopefully stick in the inside of the defensive line, that you can stick into the rotation, and hopefully give you some solid reps there. He is so important to this team this year. You needed defensive line depth. And adding somebody with kind of his size and some of the recruiting interest that he had, I think is incredibly important. I have him at number 2 on this list. I'm definitely curious if people think I'm too high on that. But again, it's a position of need for me. You had to add to the defensive line. Number 3, I have our breakout star, in my opinion, for the Badgers this year. So I had kind of a week off from recording shows. I pre-recorded shows, but then I moved from Connecticut to Wisconsin. I've told you all that. I'm in Wisconsin now, but because I had a lot of time on the road, listen, Ohio is a boring state to drive across. Let's just be real. So I had time to think. I had time to ruminate on the Badgers. And one of the things I was thinking about is who is the breakout star for the Badgers this year? Who is the guy that a year ago college football fans didn't really know, but by the end of this year, college football fans are going to know. They're going to say, that's a dude. That guy's going to the league. For me, it's John Pius. John Pius comes in number 3 on my list. Again, just like I talked about with Brandon Lane, traits translate, right? Yes, you can talk about the level of competition. He played at William & Mary. He dominated at that level, by the way. But traits translate. He's 6'4" or 6'2", 240 pounds, and he runs 21 miles an hour. That plays at any level. It doesn't matter if that's a Ferrari at some podunk racetrack, right? That's a monster truck at somebody's backyard. That monster truck translates anywhere. That Ferrari translates anywhere. It doesn't matter where the track is if the machine is that type of quality. Okay, maybe that analogy is stretching it, but I talked to Brady Collins. I talked to him about John Pius, and he's just raves about him. Physical, fast, edge setter. This is a guy you can set on the edge, say pin the ears back, and just go get somebody. And at the end of the day, 240 running that fast, that translates. That's going to be really tough on Big Ten offensive tackles. And he dominated at his level, right? You're talking about an FCS All-American, 6th in the country in sacks per game at 0.86. One of the best players in William & Mary defensive history. I can't wait for it. I think by the end of this year, we're going to look back and say that was a 5-star transfer portal addition. He helped change our defense around. He's going to provide disruption. He's going to bend the edge because ultimately there's just the higher you get in football, right? Going from high school to community college to D3 to D2 to D1 to high D1, the higher you get, the more athletic traits matter. You can be great on the chalkboard. You can be great at reading and diagnosing defenses and offenses. You can be a student of the game. All that matters at every level. But the higher you get, the more it just matters if you run really fast and you can knock people over. Football is a game of physics. Speed, power, that matters. He can bend edges. He's 6'2", 240, and he runs 21 miles an hour. He's number 3 on my list for those reasons. I think he's the breakout player for the Badgers this year. Let me know who your breakout player is. I have John Pius coming at number 3. Number 4, another linebacker, Jaheim Thomas. Love Jaheim Thomas. This linebacker core that they brought in, this group of linebackers they brought in the portal, going to completely revamp this defense. Still some issues in other places, and I think those linebackers, listen, it's not all going to gel right away. They're going to have to get used to playing with each other. They're going to have to figure out the coaches are going – this is a big responsibility for the coaches to figure out which linebackers fit best in which situation. How do they manage egos? There's a lot of talent and a lot of guys they brought in, a lot of guys coming back that all want to play. This is going to be a challenge. Make no mistake. You can't just – this isn't like Monopoly. You can't just collect all the pieces and win the game. You still have to learn how to manage these pieces. But number 4 is Jaheim Thomas, flies around the football, 6th in the SEC in tackles last year, led Arkansas, has familiarity with the coaching staff in Cincinnati. He was with them there. That means they know that he has the intangibles. They know he has the work ethic. They know he's a culture fit. They know he's a locker room fit. You're not going to bring somebody in that you've coached previously unless you really like coaching them, right? So he checks all those boxes. And then you watch the film. Jaheim Thomas, man, flies around the ball, doesn't stay blocked. Great instincts, strings out plays and then knifes through to take down the ball carrier. Sure tackler, a spot that this Badgers team really had issues with last year. Big get. Big get. He's number 4 on my list. So we've got number 1, Tyler Van Dyke. Again, in importance to the team this year, Tyler Van Dyke, going to be a starter. Brandon Lane, going to be a major contributor. John Pius, I think, going to be a major contributor. Jaheim Thomas, going to be a starter. All right, those are my top 4 in that order. We're going to take a quick break. I'm going to come back and talk to you about another guy who I think is going to be an obvious starter for this team on defense. That's number 5 on my list. That's coming up next on Locked On Badgers. But first, a quick break for our great friends of the show over at Game Time. Game Time is the number 1 source for all your ticketing needs. Whatever you want to do. And everybody loves going to baseball. Like summer is baseball. How do you get to baseball? You need tickets, right? Where do you get tickets? Oh, go to Game Time. This is perfect. Go over to Game Time. You're going to find the best tickets, and you get panoramic views of the seats, right? So not just what the seat looks like, but also what it looks like to the right, what it looks like to the left. So you know how close you are to the foul pole maybe, or how close you are to the concession stands. Game Time creates the ultimate place to buy the best tickets because you can look around. You can know what that seat's going to look like. Plus, you get the best inventory, last-minute ticket deals, flash sales, and you don't have to worry as much about logistics. They make it fast, easy, simple. All-in pricing, which means you know exactly what the total price is going to be. There's no surprises at checkout. It's like it's made for me. It's made for us to get to the places we want to go easier and for less money. Take the guesswork out of buying Major League Baseball tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKED on college for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, let's keep going here with our transfer portal tiers. So again, the top 4 that I have in order of importance for this season: Tyler Van Dyke, Brandon Lane, John Pius, and then Jaheim Thomas, who I think is just going to be a wrecking ball for the Badgers. Number 5, let's keep the linebackers rolling. Number 5, we got Lowery. I think he's going to start. I think he's going to be an edge setter. I think he's going to be physical against the run. This is a guy who, again, has unique athletic tools, explosive in space, runs through ball carriers. I think this is kind of a version of Darrell Peterson. If Darrell Peterson hits kind of that higher ceiling, I think he's that type of guy. Great length, can also rush the passer, has shown productivity at higher levels of college football, so we already know he has that experience. I think he's number 5. I think he's going to play a huge role for the Badgers in that linebacker room. And again, you just see as we go through this, and maybe your own list, maybe you reorder this a little bit. Maybe you don't have these linebackers as high, but you can see the linebacker talent they brought in. You can see their vision in the offseason. Their vision in the offseason was driven by their film study of last year's defense, of seeing mobile quarterbacks get around the edge, of seeing running backs get around the edge, of seeing linebackers not hit fits. Listen, they went into the offseason with a Christmas wish list of linebacker speed. Check, 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 right? They absolutely nailed it. I have Lowery at number 5. Number 6, love this guy. Can't wait to watch him play. I got Tyree Walker. Excuse me. I have Tyree Walker at number 6. Transfer running back coming over from Oklahoma. Big bowling ball of a guy. 7 touchdowns last year. This was a player, I've mentioned it a couple times before, but I know not everybody hits every show in the summer. I talked to the Oklahoma insider, a guy who covers Oklahoma football, just raves about Tyree Walker. Just raves about him, says going to be a fan favorite, absolutely beloved in Oklahoma, runs through tackles, plays really, really hard. I think if you look at roles, Tyree Walker isn't coming in to be a starter. I think Lowery is going to be a starter. I think Jaheim Thomas is going to be a starter. Tyree Walker is coming in to be a depth piece, but a really important depth piece, a number 2 running back. And I think he has a very clearly defined role on this offense, right? Whereas Chez is going to be more the primary running back, throwing the ball to him out of the backfield, more that first down guy, really good in blitz pickup as well, which Tyree is actually probably pretty good at as well. And Tyree's a guy who turned some heads in the spring. Tyree's going to be the guy 3rd and 2. We're going to give it to you. He has experience running out of shotgun. He's experienced running between the tackles. You're going to get 3rd and 2. We're going to give it to you, and we're going to just trust your physicality as a low center of gravity bowling ball. We're going to trust your physicality to go run somebody over and get a friggin' first down in November on a road game. That's what Tywee's going to give you this year. 2nd and 3 at the goal line, give it to Tyree and just let that physicality, that ability to use a little bit of that jump cut that he has, the ability to run with some feel and power. Again, he had 7 touchdowns for Oklahoma last year. This is a really underrated pickup for the Badgers. By the way, at a spot where depth is a little bit questionable at running back. Right, you look at that running back depth chart, you have Chez Malusi, who has a history of being injured, has never had 200 carries in a season, which is incredible. I think Chez's highest career mark is 170-something. So you have an injury-prone number 1, and then you have 2 guys in Cade Yakimelli and Jackson Aker, who I think they're fine, but you're probably not comfortable if they have a huge role this year. And then you have some freshmen, Gideon Atuka, who I really like, enrolled early. 2 high-impact 4-star guys, Dylan Dupree and Dylan Jones coming in. But that's a position that has question marks, especially early in the year. Tyree Walker is a huge pickup. Like, this is a guy that's going to, in some games, probably get as many carries as Chez. This is a guy who, if Chez went down for a little bit, I think you'd be okay with Tyree Walker for a while just carrying the load until some of the younger guys get their feet wet. So I have Tyree Walker at number 6. Number 7, RJ Delancey. Now, if you look at the players who maybe generated, if you imagine every transfer portal guy's dropped in a pond and the amount of waves they generate, like Tyler Van Dyke generates a lot of waves. That's a big news item. Tackett Curtis generated a lot of waves. Jaheim Thomas generated a lot of waves. Not a lot of people when RJ Delancey kind of fell in that pond. He kind of got swept under the rug. It reminded me a little bit last year of Will Pauling, who actually, everyone was talking about Bryson Green and CJ Williams and Tanner Mordecai and all these other guys, but really it was Will Pauling that was the star there. Delancey has a little bit of that, a little bit underrated, I think, pickup, at least among Badger fans coming over from Toledo. Really versatile player. This is a guy that can play some corner, can play some slot corner, can play probably even safety if you wanted him to. actually graded out incredibly well per Pro Football Focus last year. I think he's the highest graded transfer guy that the Badgers have coming in. Now, again, playing at a higher level of competition now, but he's played really well. He's played a lot of football. He's experienced. He's physical. He's about 190 pounds now after going through the Brady Collins regime. So you're getting a physical, mature, experienced, versatile cornerback. Yeah, all of those things are important, right? Every single one of those things for a defensive back in the Big Ten for the Badgers is important. Versatile, experienced, well-built, can play a lot of different spots. He'll tackle. He can run. I think this is your third cornerback behind Nizer Forkran and Ricardo Holman. You're bringing in a guy who's going to play a ton. And third cornerbacks are basically starters. Now, there's a lot of bodies at the cornerback position. So I think you're going to see rotation. You're going to see some young players try to come up and take some of those reps. You're probably going to see a Max Lofi get some of those reps. There's certainly positional battles going on there, but Delancey's going to play a lot this year. Also has some special teams versatility and ability. I think you'll see him on those units. Yeah, I got him at number 7. I think he's a really good pickup for the Badgers. At number 8, I have Tackett Curtis, who I think if I had done this list as right after he had committed or right in that spurt, he would have been much higher. But he's dealt with an injury. He had to miss a lot of spring. He's had to miss some strength and conditioning. It sounds like it's coming back together slowly for him. Listen, this is a huge physical, athletic upside get, but the dude's got to get healthy, right? And because he's struggled a little bit with that, because we've seen in spring camp, we've seen John Pius and we've seen Leon Lowery take steps. We've seen Jaheim. We know who Jaheim Thomas is. We've seen Jake Chaney take a step. We know Christian Allegro's there. I'm starting to wonder more and more what the role will be for Tackett Curtis this year. Again, and this is a list of importance to the depth chart this season. Now, as he gets healthy, he's just so physically gifted, so instinctually violent on the football field. Again, talking about John Pius, traits translate, physicality translates, physics matter in football. This is a guy who is big, strong, and moves really fast. Those physics matter. So I think if he's healthy and he continues to be healthy, he's going to chisel into the depth chart, right? Because he's just too physically gifted not to. But he's got to get there. He's got to get it all put together. And I think there's some linebackers ahead of him now. So that's why I have him at number 8. Definitely a big-time upside guy, though. At number 9, I have Jackson McGonough, who, again, this is one Jackson McGonough, the LSU transfer over the tight end who came over from LSU. This is one by the end of the year I could look back on and be really silly, right? You can make the argument that he should be much higher because this is a high pedigree recruit, very athletic, unique catching ability, unique receiving ability for that spot. And by the way, ... what's one of the positions on the team where like, gosh, I wish we had a little more depth there? Tight end, right? So he's coming into a spot that doesn't have a ton of established depth, has playing time, has opportunity, absolutely up for grabs. And I use up for grabs for a reason because Jackson McGonough will go up and snatch a football. Like he will go up and in red zone situations against he can create mismatches. He has that type of athletic ability. So this is a player who I have at number 9, could definitely be higher. There's a couple guys on this list that at the end of it, I could absolutely see myself, and another one's coming up, by the way, who I could absolutely see myself saying, gosh, I should have had that dude way higher. McGonough is definitely one of those guys because of the depth chart, because of his athletic tools, because of his recruiting pedigree. This is definitely a player who could rise up, but we have to see it, right? He played 1 year at LSU, didn't play a ton. That's not an indictment, right? You shouldn't indict anyone if they're a true freshman, they're not getting reps, but we need to see it. So I have Jackson McGonough at number 9. Number 10, I have Vernon Griffin. So Vernon Griffin, the receiver from Boston College. This is an interesting one, right? This is definitely an interesting player, 6'3", 6'4", about 200 pounds. He brings a level of physicality that the Badgers have been looking for. They've been looking for a boundary receiver and hoping it was Bryson Green last year. That didn't fully translate. They've been looking for, and most college teams are looking for this, by the way. This isn't unique to Wisconsin, but they've been looking for that bigger boundary receiver that can help take some pressure off the edge. It's hard to know exactly what you're getting with Vernon Griffin because Boston College hasn't been very good. And he's kind of languished in a substandard offense for a while with substandard quarterback play. He comes here, maybe they unlock something. He is historically kind of a big weapon on the outside. I like the hands. He has some physicality after the catch when you watch him on film. He doesn't always go down right away. He showcases some of that 6'3", 200-pound frame. He's interesting, but we don't really know, and there's a lot of receivers, right? Is he going to drop? Is he going to jump Bryson Green? Is he going to jump Vinny Anthony? Is he going to jump Quincy Burrows? Is he going to jump C.J. Williams? There's a lot of bodies there. None of them have just really emerged, so this is another ingredient in that soup, and we got to see what comes out of it, but this is another guy, much like Jackson McGonough, that at the end of the year, if Vernon Griffin takes a jump and establishes himself, you can look back and say, yeah, he should have been higher. All right, we're going to take a quick break there, wrap it up with a couple more names, plus kind of talk about who we actually, out of this group, think are major contributors and starters. But first, a quick break for our friends of the show. All right, to recap, we got the top 10 so far of players most important to the depth chart this season from the transfer portal haul. Number 1 is Tyler Van Dyke. He's the quarterback, obviously. Number 2, Brandon Lane, position of need, and he's 6'3", 300. Number 3, John Pius, my breakout player of the year. Number 4, Jaheim Thomas. Number 6, tackler in the SEC last year, flies around the football. Number 5, Leon Lowery. Number 6, Tyree Walker, going to score a bunch of touchdowns this year in short yard situations. Number 7, RJ Delancey, likely third cornerback slot guy, going to be a really nice fit for the defense. Number 8, Tackett Curtis, high upside, has to stay healthy. Number 9, Jackson McGonough, a lot of opportunity there. Number 10, Vernon Griffin, boundary receiver, again, a lot of opportunity there, but a lot of bodies there. Number 11, Leighton Nelson. This is another underrated pickup. The Badgers have been looking for some depth on the offensive line. Leighton Nelson comes in, 6'6", 300-something pounds, has played at Vanderbilt. Has some versatility, right? Could probably play guard or tackle, probably more of a tackle. Had experience with Coach Blazik, who obviously vouched for him to bring him along. So this could be your swing tackle. This could be a guy, or especially early in the season, if you don't want Kevin Haywood to go in, maybe a Riley Wallman were to get hurt, or Jack Nelson. Maybe you don't want or Kevin Haywood's first reps as a true freshman to come early in the season. Maybe you have a Peyton Nelson then at that point to kind of step into that role. So important depth piece. I don't know, which is really important on the offensive line, but we're also not really sure what he is. So I have him at 11, and at 12, I have Elijah Hills. Again, defensive line. I just think Lane is a higher chance to contribute. I think Elijah Hills is Elijah Hills is about 20 pounds lighter, right? 20 pounds lighter than Peyton Lane. So I don't know if he is as easy of a road to contribute. But certainly on the defensive line, you can't write it off. So that is my list of the top 12 transfer portal guys who I think are important to this year's team, this year's depth chart. Let me know who you think should be higher, who should be lower. If there's somebody that I didn't put on the list that you think should be on there, let me know. Thank you so much for listening, as always, on Wisconsin, and we will talk tomorrow.